Welcome back to Limcube Plus, everyone. On this channel, I'm 100%ing Breath of the Wild by a bit every day until Tears of the Kingdom, the sequel, comes out, which is today in 81 days. We are actually at 70.8% now, so we are approaching the last 30%. Still have a decent amount of time, but as I always say, if I have some extra stuff to do at the end, and we've already reached the 100% mark, we'll just do some extra shrines, the Trot of the Sword, or something like that as we wait for Tears of the Kingdom to come out. I want to talk about, Tears of the Kingdom enemies today. Looks like these guys are not the biggest friends. Kind of using each other to potentially deal some damage. And, yeah, I want to talk about Tears of the Kingdom enemies today. Enemies in Breath of the Wild has traditionally been one of the game's most common criticisms. People didn't like the amount of enemy variety. Yes, we have enemies like Keys who literally die in one shot. We have skeleton versions of some of the other enemies in the game, obviously style Koblins, style Moblins, style Lizalfos, etc. And then what they decided on doing is that enemies can level up. They kind of change colors depending on how far you progressed through the game. There's the typical red Bokoblin, they turn into blue, into a black, into a silver, into a white, into a silver, and then gold in Master Mode if you choose to play on Master Mode. In Tears of the Kingdom, we can already say there is more enemy variety. We've already seen new enemies, right? We've seen the Redeads, which might be, may or may not be Redeads. They look like the Redeads from previous games. We've seen this big arm on the ceiling on one of those underground caves that's essentially attacking Link. We can see Link using... Oh, I just made a stupid mistake. We can see Link using the flamethrower on one of those arms in one of the early shots in an early trailer. We have seen the new boss Bokoblin that Nintendo actually tweeted out. Seems to be kind of like the literal boss of a horde of Bokoblins, kind of commanding them. Now, the most interesting part about the new enemies in Tears of the Kingdom seems to be, and I don't know how many people have pointed this out. I think I've seen at least... I think the GameSpot trailer analysis has pointed it out. I was actually looking at this on stream before. Also, if you're actually curious, the reason I just reloaded is I messed up that next Korok seed. I literally talked about this in a different episode. If you ever need to match trees like this, you want to stasis the fruit that has to be in line and then cut down the tree. I unfortunately cut down the tree prematurely, so it didn't end up working, but this time it will. Right, so in the most recent trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, we see this shot where Link is fighting a bunch of Moblins. It just happens to be that in that horde of Moblins, one of the Moblins is a red Moblin, sorry, two of the Moblins are actually red Moblins, and one is a blue one. And we've seen now that instead of just having different colors, it seems that these enemies also change their horns depending on what color they are. The red Moblin has kind of like this round, almost like shield type horn. You could almost see it as like some sort of egg, right? The blue Moblins, however, have kind of like this bull horn. It looks close to a bull. And you can actually see in that moment of footage that the blue Moblin, I don't know if I just said Bokoblin unintentionally, the blue Moblin used his head to attack Link. So he actually used his horn, his specific bull horn, for some sort of headbutt to attack Link. Now this is good news. This might suggest that now, when enemies level up from, for example, a red to a blue Bokoblin or Moblin, which the Bokoblins also have different horns depending on their color, they not only gain more health, but they gain a complete, maybe new behavior, a complete new way of attacking, right? Like the bull Moblins might now be more aggressive and might use headbutts. The red Bokoblins might, I don't know, I mean the red and blue Bokoblins both essentially have like a spear type horn, but who knows what these horns change to. I think we've actually only seen blue and red enemies so far, so I have no idea. Maybe the black and white and silver enemies later on gain like completely crazy horns, maybe like some sort of like ancient technology. Okay, maybe that doesn't really make sense, but I think the potential there is huge for them to all behave differently, kind of fixing the issue without doing too much extra work, right? Like you still have the same essentially design that enemies level up, but now they actually gain different attacks instead of just gaining more health and feeling pretty much the same. That being said, we have seen a bunch of new enemies that I'm very excited for. I'm sure we also haven't seen a bunch of enemies yet at all. We haven't seen much in the sky. We already know that there's a big like iron golem type enemy, which me and a bunch of others seem to be pretty sure about is maybe not as hostile as it suggested in that shot. But and more like a guardian from like a test of strength, right? Which, yes, in this game these guardians can kill you, but they are mostly there to test your strength, and they are not inherently like an evil being. To me, though, I will say I would be fine if the only change they make is add a couple more enemies and then make those different versions of Moblins and Bokoblins and Lizalfos different depending on what horns they have, give them unique attacks and stuff like that. That to me would already be completely enough. And that's the big if, because I wasn't actually that upset about enemy variety in the game. That was fine to me, but what was really annoying to me was boss variety. To me, that's the part that really matters. I don't want to essentially fight the same boss 4 times again and give them slightly different attack patterns. Like, yes, Windblight has cannons and Waterblight has a spear and Fireblight has a big sword, but when it comes to actual, like, design, these enemies essentially feel like the same one with different attacks. And I really hope that we get some unique boss fights. I am pretty sure that we will. At the end of the day, I think it's evident that as much as it might not be immediately visible, but I think it's evident enough that Nintendo did listen to feedback on the game. To me, the one shot that makes me feel a lot more relieved about this is literally them having this like floating raft in the game, which was something the community essentially quote-unquote found in Breath of the Wild, right? That the flying machine is what it was called, stacking 2 minecarts on top of each other and using the lower minecart to kind of build yourself your own flying machine. It was really awesome. It went really viral on YouTube and Twitter, and them putting this floating raft as a machine into Tears of the Kingdom, to me at least right now, is almost a confirmation that they saw this and thought, this is awesome, let's put it in our own game. And that is what makes me a lot more relieved to potentially to at least imagine that they've listened, right? That they've listened to people's complaints about enemy variety, which I think we've already seen in the trailer now, and then probably also about boss design. I think we're gonna get dungeons, I think we're gonna get bosses. That's what I truly believe in right now. I think in general it's very sad that when it comes to Nintendo, they don't seem to be super open when it comes to communicating this sort of stuff to the fans, which I think is very unfortunate. My number one biggest wish for a YouTube video to this day is still to get one of those IGN developer reacts videos. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen them. IGN has this YouTube series where they essentially interview developers and they have them watch a speedrun of their game for the first time. Having a Nintendo developers, Zelda developers react to a Breath of the Wild speedrun would be like my favorite video to watch ever. I always say there is no way that at least one Zelda developer obviously has watched a speedrun of Breath of the Wild. There is no way in my mind that if you've worked on something for like 5+ years, you never think at least about looking up Breath of the Wild on YouTube. And I think if you do, essentially at one point you will go down that rabbit hole of the Breath of the Wild speedrunning videos. So I really truly believe that, to me, there's no way that Nintendo has never seen a speedrun. I don't believe it. Also, I just realized the beret with the Zora armor, damn, actually looks kinda clean. Can't wait to see what the Tears of the Kingdom outfits are gonna look like. I'm gonna wrap up this episode today. I already recorded 5 episodes of LimQ Plus today. Gonna wrap it up here by getting the Shodasar Shrine. Just kind of wanted to talk about enemies in Tears of the Kingdom for a little bit. And as I did that, we have now reached 71.62%. If you look at the map here, in these recent episodes, we've been kind of zooming through Farron and have pretty much been getting all of those Korok seeds in the region. So that's looking good. After I'm done with Farron here, we are gonna make our way into Lurline Village, get all of the Korok seeds in this area. And then pretty much all that's left, those last 20%, are Hebra, where we have pretty much done nothing. So that's always going to be a good time. And then also a bunch of Korok seeds still around Satori Mountain are still missing. I have completed some of them, but there's still a bunch of them missing. And then there's also a lot of them missing here in the canyon. And some around Rito Village. And then we are actually getting close to the 100% marker. We still have to get some random shrines, like my absolutely most despised shrine here, where we have to follow Oki. So that's gonna be fun. But for now, I'm gonna say goodbye. Thank you for watching once again. Tears of the Kingdom will be out in 81 days. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching.